Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to my channel, and today in this video we are going to look at how we can use FastAPI and SQL model to create a basic REST API where we are able to do some database interactivity. So for APIs we are going to use FastAPI because this is the modern framework for creating APIs. Most of the solutions that are built in Python for primarily for APIs, the people are using FastAPI. And the ORM of choice with FastAPI automatically comes down to kind of SQL model. It's the new kid on the block because it's not as old as maybe SQL Alchemy, which is there since I think 2005, if I'm not completely wrong. And the best part is SQL model is written by the same person who created FastAPI. So what happens is automatically you get a lot of easy integration. So in the video you will understand that integrating SQL model with FastAPI is very easy, and on top of it, the beauty of SQL model is that it is based on SQL Alchemy, which I would say after Django, right? It is one of the most popular ORM in the Python ecosystem. But it also uses Pydantic, which is one of the best, I would say, packages of Python when you are talking about data validation and data types and whatnot. So yes, SQL model, although it is new, has a beautiful blend of the new technology and adopting the old or the framework which has seen it all kind of a thing, and it's a nice blend, right? So these are the two things that we will be looking at. So yeah, let's get started. Let's get our folder in place, learn FastAPI. I'll get into that, and I'll open up my code editor, which is obviously VS Code. Right, the first thing that I'll have to do is set up my environment. So why don't I go ahead and do that? Right, python-m venv.venv. So the folder name will be .venv. I want it to be hidden, and I'll create this. So once we have our environment in place, I will activate that. So source venv/bin/activate. This will ensure that now when you do which Python, we are using the current Python from the venv. So any packages or anything which is being installed will be in the .venv, and it is not something where in root. Okay, and this is very important. Otherwise, you can land up with a lot of I would say conflicts in terms of package versionings and everything. So yeah, always do this. Now in VS Code, because we have created the environment, we need to tell VS Code that I need to work with that. So you go ahead and say Python create environment. It will ask you whether it is a venv or a conda. I'll say it's a venv, and then it automatically does detect whether you have a .venv or not. So in this case, I'll say yes, use existing. Otherwise, I could have done a delete and recreate, but I don't see a need for that right now. So we have our virtual environment in place, and now let's look at how we can get some of the required packages in this virtual environment. So some of the packages that we will need for this tutorial to work is obviously, oh, by the way, I will be using UV and not pip. So there are some definite advantages of UV. I'll show you. If I do UV init and then dot, I do get a few files. Okay, I get a .getignore, I get a .python version, I get a main.py, which anyways we are going to kind of recreate. So I'll just clean everything there. We have a readme, again empty, but the most important thing is this toml file. Okay, this toml file has some meta information about your project, and the most important part here is line number 7, which is my dependencies. Okay, it is one of the best ways of managing dependencies because it automatically updates your dependencies when you do add a new package, unlike the requirement.txt where either you'll have to memorize it, that you need to make an entry there, or maybe do a pip freeze, and then it's this whole big list of requirements.txt, which is quite confusing, to be very honest, right? So I'll show you how the beauty of UV. So we need some packages. So I'll do UV add. I can see some autocomplete coming up. Yes, FastAPI. Obviously, because we are building this solution with FastAPI. UVcorn. That's how we will run the application. Okay. Alembic. I won't use it right now. Alembic will be a separate video maybe. That is primarily for migrations. I'm not going to touch that in this video. Python MySQL, the SQL model package, and python.env obviously. So now let's run this and see. Installed 17 packages. Now let me go into my toml file. Can you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? And I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Compare that now to pip freeze requirements.txt. It has 17 line entries, okay? And honestly, I haven't installed all of these packages. So somehow, right, it used to bother me because I haven't installed them. So why are you showing that to me? Okay. Whereas with the toml, it is very clear. I have these packages as my requirements. Any dependencies that are from these packages, you can manage it on your own. I think that's something which I like about it, because I come from a PHP composer JSON package JSON background where I don't see those verbose things. Okay, so anyways, this is why I use UV. I would say that you can start exploring it. It's a great way of getting started. We have our virtual environment. We have the required packages. I will need an environment variable, environment file, and data base URL will be, yes, I was I was waiting for it. I run as root. I don't have a password locally, and my database name is FastAPI. So from Python, no, it's .env, import load.env, and then I run that method which I have received. It will give me access to the environment variables, obviously. And yes, let me get the database URL. I'll have this as database URL. Okay, then I'll create an instance of FastAPI that is required. So from FastAPI, import FastAPI. Yes, we will do app equals FastAPI. And then let's try and get our root route in place. Let's do this and see. So if I need to run this, I'll do UVcorn main app reload. Okay, I won't use this terminal. I'll maybe use this one, UVcorn host port. Okay, everything is there. So basically I'm saying that in my main I have app. Okay, so that main is the file name. It can be index.py, but typically in the Python community I've seen they use main. Okay, so it's main.py. So main colon app. This is the app that we are trying to run on FastAPI. Then we have reload, so that any code changes would mean that my application will restart. Host and port. All right, if I go to localhost 8000, I have hello world. One beautiful thing with FastAPI is that it creates a Swagger documentation for you as well. So let's move ahead. We have a working API, we have a route, we have quite a few things. So now we will create a model, and I would highly recommend that you also follow the documentation of SQL model, because somehow I am very happy with the details that SQL model documentation has in terms of getting started. I mean, if you follow it, you will easily understand everything that is there in this package, and it is very nicely documented, so you will kind of enjoy it. Now, they have this hero model, but I'm not going to exactly copy that because otherwise it is difficult to sometimes explain things. SQL model import. No, so basically we will create a model first. Okay, I'll have class user. This is a class that I want to create. I'll have ID as int, name, and email. Yeah. Okay. So I have this class. Now I want to tell Python that this user class is a model, and it's a model which represents a table. So how do I do that? That's what I was trying to do. So you import SQL model, you import SQL model. From that we extend SQL model and we say table. Yes, table. Okay, it's not coming for some reason, but yeah, table is true. What has happened? I have extended the SQL model for my class user, and now it does have a few attributes. Okay, and like if I let me see if I can show you that. If I do, I'll create an instance. Just a second. So user equals user, and yeah, fair enough. Yeah. So if I do this right, SQL model, no module found. Pip install SQL model. Correct. That's what I have done. And main.py line number 3 SQL model from SQL model. Just a second. So libraries, I do have SQL model. So that is really not the problem. From SQL model, let me see. Am I doing some typo? Because this is something which is not visible to me. SQL model, copy. I'll just do a copy paste. It added a field, but still is taking. Is it because of some problem that has happened while I was removing conda? I don't know. Because it is trying to get something from here, which it absolutely should not do. And no, now I have no clue why this is happening. Deactivate. Fine. Source. It is. Okay, I think that thing has changed because now everything is coming from here. And it says mapper could not assemble any primary key, which is fine, to be very honest. I guess if I remove this, it might work. Yeah. Okay. So at least that problem is solved. I am a bit skeptical right now. I don't know what has happened with my Conda environment, and I hope I haven't screwed things up. But let's see. Okay. So yes, we have this, user model, and if I do table true, it is expecting a primary key, and so what I will do is I will add some fields. So let's get rid of this error first. I was just trying to show you that it will create certain things on try to do some certain things on the database, but this code is not complete yet. And for SQL model to work, we will need to define some fields. So I'll add those and then I will tell you about them. None is there, and then fee equals field. I don't need an index. Default is empty. Field default is empty, and I'll add one more: unique is true. Okay, email should be unique, otherwise it's a problem. So I have this. What now I will have to do is this model is created. It's a SQL model, so there will be a way to create a database table. How do we do that? Well, let's understand that. So continue to refer the documentation, otherwise it will be difficult for you also to later on follow this. But this documentation is SQLite, but we are going to use MySQL. So when you're working with SQL model, you need an engine. Okay, you need an engine to do certain actions, and then you need a session to perform certain actions. Session is obviously, as the name suggests, you try to build certain queries and then you run those queries. Okay, and engine is the engine on which you run that. Okay, so it's the underlying MySQL connection that you are holding. So how do we create that session? Sorry, that engine. Let's see. We have something called as create engine from SQL model, and if I do engine equals create engine and understand what it takes the URL. Okay, it takes the URL. There's one more flag which I'll show you, but because it needs the URL, I will just add this. Okay, and the second thing is echo true. Yes, the echo true is explained over here, but I will just tell you that because this is development environment, I want to see all the queries that are being executed. So I have echo equals true. And here, so far, we will not get the new table. If you see here, right, I don't have the table as of now because I do have the engine. I have told SQL model that there's a table that needs to be created, but I haven't created that table. So how do we do that? I'll show you in the documentation and we will do it together. See, create all. So the create all is the method from SQL model metadata which creates the table. Okay. So what happens is whenever I have created models and they extend SQL model now has the metadata that is required for it to create the table. Okay. So let me do SQL model dot metadata dot create all. Yes, and we pass the engine because that's the thing on which we are going to execute, right? So I'll just hit save, and can you see this thing over here? It basically created the user table for me. ID integer, not null, auto increment, varchar 255 for my name, email varchar 255, primary key is ID, unique is email. So it created the table. Fair enough. What we will do is, because we have the table, let's look at the database. Yes, we have this. So maybe it's time to create a route called /users. Okay, and create user. Hold. Can you just hold on for some time? And I'll return a user. Okay, and we will create the user. So I have user, which is of type user, and it returns a user. Now I am very fond of types and I want these types to be there. By the way, I made a mistake there. It should have been post and not route. So now I have a route called /user, which is a post route. It expects a user object. Okay, this is important. It expects a user object. This is where Pydantic will come in. It will validate whether the data type is user object or not. And then I haven't created the session. I wanted to show you the session later on, but it seems no, that will not work. Okay, so we will first create the session. Okay, and for that again, I will kind of get into the documentation. Hold on. Features, or is it learn? There was a thing of session creating using sessions. Yeah, engine got created. This is the database table and create a session. Yeah, so this is it. So how do we do that? I need a session object which will help me interact with the MySQL layer. So I create session equals and I'll import the session from SQL model, and I'll do session. I'll pass the engine, and now, so what is happening? I have this session. I create this session, and I am adding a user object to this session. I could have done new user of this type and whatnot, but this is the easy way because, as I said, SQL model is a nice blend of SQL Alchemy and Pydantic. So Pydantic will help me ensure that whatever is coming to this method through the request validation is a user object. And that definition is here. So once I have that, I can create this user. So let's see this in action. I have my API through Swagger. So I will go over here and try to create one. Okay, and I think this is a nice place for me to explain to you one important thing. I can omit the ID. Why? Because I have said that the ID here is none. So now, see, by default, we will need an ID for a user because it's a primary key. But then the thing is, the primary key is an auto increment thing. So it will generate on its own. I don't need to worry about that. And that is the reason we have the ID as an optional thing. It can be none. And this allows me to create that. Okay. Now, if I go to my database, I have one user. I will create one more, maybe our famous John Doe. If I refresh, I have two. And then, obviously, because we have a create, maybe what I will do is users equals, wow, it gives me everything. And I'll say this returns, it's a list, right? Yes. So it's a list. List is of typing, I think so. From typing, import list. Yeah. Okay. I'm still getting hang of these things. But yeah, I know eventually I will get hold of it. So yes, I am expecting a list of user. I think that should work. Let us see. There's no error per se. And if I go over here, try it out, maybe I'll have to refresh once. Yeah, I'm getting the response, which is the data that I have from the database. And can I see the query? Yes. Begin, select from this, and this is how we are able to interact with SQL model using Pydantic inside of FastAPI APIs. So yeah, this is what I wanted to show you in this video, guys. I feel that this overall setup is now going to work pretty well. Obviously, I'll create a separate video on how we can move these data layer interactions and everything from the main.py into some of its own things. But yeah, I mean, we have our basic things set up. We have our routes which are interacting with the database. We have a proper way of managing the models, and the models are getting are used to getting created the tables, and we are managing the sessions and everything, which is the typical flow of SQL model. So yeah, this is what I wanted to cover in this video, guys. If you like this video, then do click on the thumbs up icon and don't forget to subscribe to my channel.